Hello, lovely souls. It's Sonia here with Fresh Approach Fitness, a wellness company. Thank you so very much for joining us again. This is episode number 24, and the topic today is about adaptability. Yes, it should have been last week. However, it is September the 14th. Wow. 2020, episode number 24, and there was no episode on September the 7th. To be honest, I was sick. I was under the weather. I was out for a couple of days last week. There was also a long weekend in there. And I am in the process of rearranging some of my priorities and finding my balance again. And for me, that has become a priority as I have made some shifts in my life. We've all made some shifts in our lives, right? But how adaptable are we to those shifts? How much space do we give ourselves to grow and to glow, for that matter? And I say that for a purpose, because when we do things that we truly love, maybe we're not doing enough of it, but when we do things that we truly love, we're glowing. We don't think about anything else. We're in the moment. We're laughing. We're sharing. We're inspiring. We're being. We're doing. We can't do that when we're sick. We can't do that when we're under the weather. And we certainly cannot do that when we don't take care of ourselves. So everybody's gone through some major shifts this year, whether we liked it or not, whether we chose it or not, whether we were able to bounce back, or maybe it didn't affect us yet and it's just starting to affect us now. There are quite a few people I know that are just now being affected by the changes and the shifts that have happened. They're now being laid off. They're experiencing the shift at this particular point, which is 6 months later from when it all started. However, they're not doing it in the en masse, so they're not necessarily getting the same support as the general population has gone back. Some people are now getting the side effects, but there's no support for them. Or not everybody's in that same boat. So it's a little bit different, but all of this boils down to adaptability. We may have had the same routine. We may have had the same process. We may have been lucky enough to have had the same partner, the same family life, the same dynamics, the same job. But then something happens to shift things around. And again, how adaptable are you to changing situations? This has been a year of changing situations. When I reflect on my life, I bring changing situations to my life. It's just in my nature. And I'm not saying I've done things on purpose. Things have evolved and I have welcomed shifts in my life because shifts have helped me grow. Being adaptable has helped me grow. Whenever things slow down a little bit, I know it's for a purpose. And when I say slow down, I mean almost where I can totally appreciate every single thing that's come to light so I can pause and reflect and catch my breath before more happens. So when it comes to being adaptable, there's a couple choices we can make. First thing we need to do is we need to evaluate the situation. So last week, for instance, I could have done my podcast a little bit later in the week, right? I could have spent the week catching up on what I had missed, or I could let it go. I mean, I'm sure y'all missed me, right? Of course, I miss delivering these messages. You can hear by my excitement or by the tone and inflection of my voice that I am excited to deliver information and to share where I'm at with my story with each and every single one of you that are listening. However, I still needed to take care of myself. And that's what mattered at the end of the day last week is catching up is so much harder than keeping up. But when it came to priorities and evaluating where I was at, it was more important for me to make a choice to skip an episode than to worry about catching up with it. Life is like that sometimes. We just need the time. I was sick for a reason. Obviously, my body needed to rest, and that's exactly what happened. And we all get sick throughout our our time here. We all have moments of imperfection, or where we're not our best, or we're struggling a little bit, or we just need to be resting. And most of the people listening to this podcast, if you're anything like me, we don't take the time to rest the way we want to. No, we don't go away and self-exclude for a weekend. Or maybe we did at one point, but we can't now. We don't necessarily say, you know what, I'm exhausted. I'm just going to sit on the couch for a couple of days and sleep or watch some shows. No, we just wait until we're sick and we really can't do it anymore. And then our bodies force us to relax and do nothing. I slept for about 30 hours over the course of 2 days, and I didn't think I was that tired. So my body needed it. My mind needed it. We've gone through a lot this year. So the first step with adaptability is to evaluate the situation. The second thing is, how can you adapt? Once you've evaluated it, how can you adapt to what's next? So let's talk about this. My evaluation was I missed 3 days of my week last week, right? Including the podcast, including other things in my life. This wasn't the only activity that was missed. I had to move clients. I had to rearrange my schedule so I could take care of myself. And that's fine because, you know, what I had done a couple of weeks ago was made some shifts to my schedule where I now had a bracket of time so I could move people from one day to another without imposing on other people. Because that's what happens, right? When we evaluate, we're able to take a look at the big picture and say, okay, if this isn't going to happen, but I don't have time to make up for it, it either goes to the end, or what are we going to do? Or is there space this week? Or how can we catch up? Catching up and keeping up in life are two totally different things. My goodness, my mom would come and visit when my kids and I were much younger, and she could never believe the amount of laundry we had. And for those of you that have girls, and I had 3 girls, remember, and they were younger, of course, but laundry, because like every moment was a fashion show or a dress rehearsal or a dance off, and it was just hard to keep up. I was 1, they were 3, and lots of laundry, perpetual laundry. Like my mom couldn't get it. And so here's the thing. She would help me catch up. Bless her. She would help me catch up with the laundry whenever she would come to visit, which was awesome. So awesome. But if I could only keep up with it, I didn't have to catch up. And that's the same with every part of my life. You know, when you're busy living the day-to-day, you don't always see what you could be doing differently and what you could be putting a different spin on. So catching up and keeping up are two different things. Eventually, I found my groove. Right? They moved out. No. Eventually, I found my groove, right? But you're busy living. You're busy growing. You're busy taking care of and loving and nurturing. That we don't always see the difference or the priorities in terms of catching up and keeping up. But that's what happens when it comes to adaptability. Okay, so step 1 is to evaluate and see where you're at. Can something be moved? Does it have to be fit in? Who is it going to impact at the end of the day if it doesn't? So my clients were a priority, right? In terms of fitting in when I had to make some shifts. Taking care of myself became the ultimate priority last week because that's what happens when we're sick. We normally wait to get to that point to take care of ourselves. And that is something that needs to shift a little bit in our lives. And that's where I'm here to help you. It's still going to happen. I'm not saying even if we work together that you're never, ever going to get sick. But I believe 100% that your reaction time to things are different. Your priorities are different. Your mindset is different. And when you do get run down, it happens less often and for not as long. Because you do have the tools to take care of yourself and you are much more aware. It is all about the balance, my friends. And that's what adaptability is, about the balance. I'm here to help you create a foundation of wellness, to help you take chances in new areas, try the simple things, but find out what a game changer is for you. Because at the end of the day, happiness is not a journey. It's a destination. It's a destination. And when it comes to the third step of adaptability, it's to execute. So, we've evaluated the scenario. We've adapted to the scenario. And then the third step is to execute. What can you do when? So I could move my clients, and that's me being adaptable, and that's them being adaptable because they understand, right? Not every client is going to be understanding, but when I'm dealing with clients that are helping with mindset and wellness coaching and helping them live their best lives, it's really critical to be able to be adaptable. It's really critical to be able to say, okay, as an evaluation, here's what I can do instead. Go back to the table with a different offer. And you can take everything I'm suggesting, as I'm using the example of me being sick last week and apologizing for not having a show for you to all listen to last week, but letting you know that I too am human, right? Of course I didn't exercise for those 2 days. My exercise schedule went down the tube for 2 days, 3 days probably, but that's okay. I got back to it on Thursday. I got back to it as soon as I could when I was ready. And that's us being adaptable. We've had to be so adaptable this year. But how are you handling that? And where are you at in terms of the big picture right now? Have you gone back to where things were pre-COVID, where certain things have become a priority in your life, and now you're struggling to have that family time that you were enjoying, or now you're struggling to find that balance because you need that paycheck so badly because now people aren't as understanding, or because they're having the pressure and the heat on as well, because enough time has happened, and as far as society is concerned, we should be back to normal. Everybody's different. Everybody's different. You have to remember, a lot of people did what they could to survive. In some cases, we had some help, and in other cases, we didn't have some help. It all depends on who you were and what you qualified for and what your choices were. But my point is, how have you adapted to that? I can tell you firsthand that a lot of people I've been connecting with have gone back to their pre-COVID life, but they're actually worse than that because they're in catch-up. Right? They're no longer keeping up daily with the minimum amount of income or with their family as a priority. They're in catch-up mode. They're working harder. They're working longer. They're doing whatever they can to bring in the money to pay the bills for what didn't happen then, or for catching up with the lifestyle that they had missed, or for whatever your reason is. I'm sure you can understand exactly what I'm saying here. And where I'm going with this is many people right now are in catch-up mode. Right? Catch-up mode is a very tricky place to be. Is it better to put some things on the side so you can keep up with your day-to-day and then add what you can catch up with? That's an idea. Is it better to reevaluate and see where you can be adaptable? Reevaluate, adapt, and then execute. Some great ideas right here to your life. When it comes to making these changes, set yourself up so you cannot fail. Let me say that again. Set yourself up so you cannot fail. So what I mean by that is, you all know I had a studio up until March. I had a fitness studio. That was my dream. Those doors got closed. I pivoted everything to life coaching. But it wasn't until recently that I had realized how much of an impact that choice that was forced to me. We didn't have, without clients, we couldn't pay for the studio, and the landlord still was in a position where he needed to have it paid for. So I don't blame him. It's just what happened. It's just exactly what happened. Sequence of events, right? Nobody expected this. This is one of the changes. So now I've been a life coach for years, but I believe I got pigeonholed a little bit with being a trainer, and I ended up teaching quite a few classes during the week. I was up to 23 classes a couple of times over the last 3 years. That's a lot of classes to be teaching during the week. That definitely isn't something that can be sustained all the time, permanently and forever. So where I'm getting at here, though, is for the last 6 months, as much as I've tried to exercise, just like other people, I failed at staying consistent. And it took me a long time, probably until recently, last couple of weeks, to realize that was because I was mourning the loss of the studio. I was mourning the change of the routine, the people, the energy, what I had put together for the last 3 to 4 years when I had moved back to St. Thomas, and the community I had built, how we were lifting each other up and helping each other grow and becoming the best versions of ourselves. And all of that was suddenly done. It wasn't just getting up at 5:30 for a 6 a.m. workout that I had been doing constantly. So it wasn't just the shift of the time in the actions and the routine. There was so much more to it that I had mourned a loss, and I didn't give myself time to mourn the loss. I just pivoted my business and jumped right into something else. And how many times do we do that? Oh, something goes wrong, we just jump into something else. Or we try to fix it. We don't evaluate it. We don't see how we could adapt or do things differently. We don't necessarily grow with it. So I had exercised. Of course, I've exercised over the last 6 months, but I wasn't able to stay with a constant routine. Not at all. And then I get myself into a groove, and what happens? I get sick. So I got myself into a groove. 2 things. I had actually reached out to friends to help keep me accountable because I needed to fall back in love with fitness again. It wasn't just fitness. It's a couple of things. It was my ankles. It was COVID, the restrictions, not being able to swim when the days got cold or the weather, and the mindset. So I'd reached out to a couple of my girlfriends. We were going to do something different because I needed to do something different. I couldn't go back and do what I was doing. It had to be different so I can fall back in love with fitness and taking care of myself again. For some people, COVID was easy. It was their opportunity. For me, I didn't realize this, but this area, when it came to working out, became a bit of a loss for me. And of course, that meant emotional eating. I'm just like you. I'm just like everybody listening to this. We all handle things differently. For some people, it's emotional spending. For some people, it's emotional eating. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit, about how adaptability affects all of these different variables in our life. But I did reach out to friends 2 weeks ago, and I said, I need your help. There's a dance routine I want to work on. Can you keep me accountable twice a week and come and work out with me? They're in my bubble. I trust them. I know what they're doing. I know what their lifestyle looks like. And they said yes. I'm like, great. I could only fit a couple people based on the infrastructure of our basement, but they're going to come over and work out with me. And my one girlfriend came last Thursday night after I was feeling better, and we worked out and we laughed and we had fun. That's what I need again. But it had to be different. So I had to evaluate my situation. I had to adapt. So I had to first understand what was holding me back. Of course, I was standing in my own way, and there's nothing wrong with that. We are going to stand in our own way sometimes, and we don't always see that. But by coming up with a different routine, something to do differently, different goals, and a plan, I'm able to adapt. And I found a way of executing that works into the schedule, something I look forward to. So that didn't happen last week when I was sick for one day, but it did happen the second day. Okay. I'm back at working out again this morning. I did a 10-minute routine, which I'll be doing 3 days a week, because what I've realized, and this is what I encourage you to do, set yourself up so you can't fail. I don't need to be doing a 45-minute workout 2 or 3 times a day, or even once a day right now. I need to get back to the feeling of working out. The 10-minute routine is a full body routine, heart pumping, cardio, arms, legs, core, back. Back is part of your core. You know what I mean. 10 minutes, I'm sweating. It's great. I can't fail at 10 minutes a day. Get up, put my workout clothes on because I like to work out first thing, go downstairs, get this done. Set yourself up so you can't fail. And that's what adaptability is all about. When you have too much on your plate, when your list is too big, when your expectations are not realistic, even for supersonic Sonia, even for somebody that can handle it all, if you're not doing it, there is something holding you back and there is a reason. Set yourself up for something so you can't fail. I can't fail at 10 minutes a day. I'm already seeing progress. As a trainer, I know that movement is movement. We were able to take the dogs for a walk last night. My ankles were feeling better, right? So some things are non-negotiable. Going to physio, going to chiropractor, getting things fixed is a non-negotiable for me because it's important to walk. I couldn't go last Tuesday when I was sick. There's no way. I had to cancel my appointment. But rest was best, right? So when we're talking about adaptability and we're getting back into the evaluation process and how to execute so you can't fail. So a 10-minute workout 3 times a week, okay, that's doable. That is doable. Now, when I said I've already seen some changes, I've gone from 7 pounds to 10 pounds. Not a big deal, right? But it's progress. So maybe next week I'll be at 15 pounds or 12 pounds if it makes a difference for some of these moves. It doesn't make a difference. The fact is, start somewhere, but set yourself up where you can't fail. Maybe you have 3 coffees a day and you're hoping on scaling back because as you're counting your calories, you're realizing that each coffee, by the time you add your cream and sugar, equals maybe 100 calories a day. I'm just guessing. I'm throwing a number out there for easy math. But what if you scale back to 2 coffees and you just shaved off 100 calories? That simple, right? That's actually what Tony did 2 years ago when we were talking about tracking foods and I'd shown him about macros and taught him. He had lost 15 pounds very quickly by scaling back from a medium Tim Hortons coffee to a small, and then making some shifts with milk. Actually, those were his biggest terms of savings. Those are areas where you could not fail when it comes to setting yourself up. So reading, maybe you want to finish a book. What if you set a timer to read for 10 minutes a day? Or does your morning routine of journaling and meditation and having gratitude and maybe connecting with people or connecting with yourself or your higher power or whatever your morning routine looks like, does it have to be done in the morning? Who says journaling needs to be done in the morning? What if you journal at night before bed? And the last thought you have before bed is how grateful you are for everything that happened throughout the day. That works too, okay? Be adaptable in your own life. There are some non-negotiables. Going back to last week, rest is a non-negotiable. We only have so much time in our day. We only have so much energy in our day. Now that energy comes across in different forms of our life, from finances to calories to time. Energy is a form of currency. Currency shows up at time, money, energy, focus, attention. Those are different ways of currencies and energies as far as I'm concerned. And every single decision that you make is a trade-off for something else. Think about that. Every single decision you make is a trade-off for something else. So in what areas do you need to improvise? What areas do you need to adapt? And what areas do you need to overcome? Where do you need to ask for help? Where do you need to lean in and make some self-improvements? One of the things I did last week before I was sick was I finished my vision board. I hadn't done a vision board since January this year. And this vision board is the first one I've ever set up in my home office in my little corner that I stare at every single day. And it's amazing. I see it. I feel the energy of what I'm creating in my life. And I encourage you to do that. I'm going to be working on, actually I just worked on this weekend and rolled out what my fall schedule is going to look like. It hasn't been put together yet for the public, but we're working on that. But some of the topics that you might be interested in for the different workshops I'm going to be doing, and one of them does include a vision board. The vision board one is called Your Future Self Project. And that is a really, really cool workshop. It's a 2-part series, and it's called Future Self Project or program. I'm not sure the last word yet, but I think it's the Future Self Project. And that's where we will be working on a vision board. Simplify your life and live happy day to day. That's called Simple Pleasures. That is another workshop. That will be an ongoing workshop. People can pop in, pop out at any time for that workshop. Healthy eating on a budget. That one's exciting. That one always expands. And so I've decided to roll that one out as a 2-hour start and then to add it to 45 minutes throughout so people could get some ideas and we can circle back to it. But healthy eating on a budget is another area where people can grow and glow, right? It's spending your time wisely. Unjunk your diet. Who needs that right now? Hands up if you can agree with me. If you're looking for areas to make some healthy changes to your diet and some simple swamps. And energies and emotions. We talk about emotions all the time, but what we don't realize is how emotions drive you. They're the driving force to everything that you do. And I'm not just talking emotional eating, emotional spending. That's actually a different workshop we're going to be talking about a little bit later on, probably in the new year. And that's called Calories and Currency. But and as well as your mindfulness mindset is another one that we'll be rolling out in winter 2020. Those two will be rolling out then. So, but energies and emotions is great. It's about chakras. There's actually going to be a major section on essential oils as well. And so chakras, essential oils, and feelings and energies behind that, the emotions and how that plays a role. So all of these things are important to adaptability. And that's where I'm at today is what is it that you do? What is your routine? What is your setup? How are you being successful when it comes to changes and shifts in your life? I look forward to hearing from each and every single one of you. I am open to take on some new clients for my monthly workshops. My monthly workshops, yes. There will be a variety of ones that you can choose from. The ones we just talked about. Simple Pleasures, which is the day-to-day, the Future Self Project, and Healthy Eating on a Budget, Unjunk Your Diet, Energies and Emotions. These are all coming up as of the end of September. There will be another weight loss challenge. I'm just trying to find the right date and time. And as an ongoing workshop, I do offer monthly life coaching. It's a drop-in. There is a commitment. There's a price point to it, but the commitment isn't bad at all. I'm very flexible with that. But there's also the drop-in option, which means if you are interested in this, you don't have to commit. You can just pop into one session, see how it goes, and then decide for yourself if this is something that you want before you make a commitment. There's obviously a price break for commitments. Just like when it comes to the workshops, you can get an unlimited subscription for a month for a certain price point, and you will definitely walk away with a lot of value. All of these workshops are meant to help you with adaptability. All of them. You pick and choose what works best in your life. You pick and choose which podcasts you listen to, right? You pick and choose which TV shows you listen to. You pick and choose who you want to hang out with, where you want to spend your time. You pick and choose the adventures that you go on, the things you collect, your hobbies. These things are who you are. These things that you pick and choose brings out the confidence in you, help you shine, right? It's all about making you the best version of yourself, and it helps you get unstuck. That's what these life coaching sessions are all about. That's what these workshops are all about, and that's exactly what these podcasts are about. I'm here to help you awaken your magic, and I look forward to hearing from you. Let me know which questions you have. Once again, it's Sonia with Fresh Approach Fitness, a wellness company. AskSonia.ca. Or head over to the website at freshapproachfitness.ca. Certainly love to help you out with any shifts that you're going through, any changes that you want to roll out in your life, and just think about how you are adaptable. Remind yourself that every decision you make is a trade-off for something else. Typically, time, energy, money, focus, and attention. One more point before we go. It's always, always, always easier to keep up versus catching up. So choose wisely. Have a great day, my friends, and I look forward to hearing from you.